Which real estate investment is best for you? Let's decide that today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through a number of them. We're going to talk about the benefits. We're going to talk about the challenges. And then really when you marry those two and look at what are the pros and the cons and what's the risk versus the rewards, you can come up with a decision for yourself. So let's look and see what we're talking about. Here, we're looking at single family homes. We're going to look at multifamily. We're going to look at commercial. We're going to look at vacant land, short-term rentals, and REITs. So let's start with single family residential. I mean, this is a great investment, especially for people just getting started. Single house, single property, benefits, simpler to manage. If you're managing it yourself, you have one resident. Now that, I mean, you may have 4 or 5 people living in the house. You may have 2 or 3 adults in a house. It doesn't matter, but simple to manage because you have one lease to get signed, and that's just easy. Now, also on the liquidity front, if you ever need to sell a property, having a single family you've got options there, right? You can sell it on the retail market. You can sell it to another investor. You could do owner financing to somebody. I mean, there's all kinds of options to get out. So it's a little bit more liquid than some of the other things, but it appeals to both investors and families. So challenges, well, vacancy. When you don't have that one unit rented, you are not receiving any income, and that's a problem, right? Limited cash flow compared to multifamily properties. I mean, listen, in recent years, what we've seen is because interest rates are up, because housing prices haven't come down, you really need to find a good deal, and that takes time and patience. Perseverance and patience is what I like to say. You have to really find a good deal to make the numbers work really well. So what we say is if you're getting between $100, $150 to $300 in cash flow on a single family house, that's actually, you're doing pretty well, just depending on obviously the investment. So multifamily, let's talk about multifamily properties. These are great investments, and really even for beginners, they can be great investments. So house hacking opportunity. This is something that we see a lot of people do. It's they live in one part of the duplex and they rent out the other, or one part of the tri or quad and rent out the other spaces. Fantastic way. You can buy this still usually on a traditional loan, and then you can rent out other parts of it to help supplement your income. You get a ton of experience, right? So reduce risk of total vacancy. If one side of the duplex leaves, you have another side still rented. Multiple income streams, higher cash flow potential. All that's pretty true, just depending on where you're buying the property as far as the what kind of cash on cash return. Obviously, operating expenses has a big part in that. So, but it can be a great opportunity for people. Even just a small duplex would be great. So challenges, well, higher upfront costs. If it has, like in a single family, if you're buying a 12 to 1,500 square foot property, which is what I would recommend, maybe with a multifamily, could be doubling that. Quad is going to be a good bit more, just depending on the bedroom bathroom breakup. And then really you just have to think about, what is it going to cost to turn all these properties? What does maintenance cost? What is a new roof? These CapEx expenditures. What does a new roof cost? What does heating and air in the place cost? So also complex management. Now, this is my first foray into multifamily. I learned very, very quick that managing a single family was, even scattered site, even multiple single families, was a lot easier for me at the time than a multifamily, because I started having, what you start having is, I had a small apartment complex. There's 12 units. And what I found was the residents were talking to each other. And, if you do have somebody in there that gets there and starts causing trouble, it's disruptive to a lot of people. And what I found was, hey, when leases come up, if there's troublemakers within the complex, then guess what? Other people move out. And I happen to buy it with people in there. So, there's some things you just can't foresee. So it was a challenging time to turn that around. All right, let's go to commercial property. So here, commercial property, we're talking about anything used for business purpose. This could be anything from a retail shop, clothing store, to a restaurant, to office space. Where I'm recording this right now here at Evernest, we have offices in about 50 different cities. So this is commercial space. So the good thing about this is they're long leases with typically stable income. I think this is fantastic. It's just, when you have a long lease, I can't remember how long the lease, maybe we signed a 5-year lease here, but typically this makes it more predictable. I don't think this is great for a first-time investor if you don't know what you're doing. So our family has a friend up in Nashville. He started out buying single family probably 30 years ago, and he built up a big portfolio of single family residential, and then he sold all of that and started 1031 exchanging into commercial property. And that is more typical of what we see unless you're coming alongside a very experienced partner for for commercial. Maybe you have a lot of the cash for the deal and you're partnering with some people. You can learn a lot by doing that. I think that's a great way to do it, is having a JV deal, joint venture deal, where you're sharing in the profits, you're sharing in the experience, and you get to get a ton of knowledge by just asking a lot of questions and see how the deal works. I love commercial property. You have triple net lease. You reduce expenses because you're passing on things like property taxes, insurance, maintenance costs to the tenant, to the retail tenant, the commercial tenant. Even here in this office, we're building a studio, and so I met with a contractor, and I want to blow out some walls and do some things. Well, all that's going to come down to me. I'm going to have to do all that. We're going to have to pay for it ourselves. It's not covered by by the landlord. So, what are the challenges? Obviously, high entry costs. Obviously, commercial property usually is more expensive. Unless you're trying to buy commercial property in a depressed area, thinking that it's going to turn around, that typically doesn't work out the way you thought it would. However, I have seen it work really, really well. Here in our city, we had a friend who was a pretty sizable real estate investor here, single family residential, built up this huge portfolio. Then he went to a depressed part of town and started buying some commercial property. And the first thing he did was he created a brewery. He built a brewery, and it's called Avondale Brewing Company. And you can go look it up here in Birmingham, Alabama. It's the whole area now has been revitalized. Once he did that and started opening a couple of other things, the whole place came back. And so people now here in Birmingham are going, where's the next Avondale? The area is called Avondale. Where's the next Avondale? So, however, you have to have a lot of money to do that. So this investor had the cash. He had the ability to pull that off. But you also have market volatility. Look at, and I'm just saying things like COVID. Things like COVID really hurt businesses, really hurt commercial property. Even now, a lot of commercial property hasn't recovered. Office space building in large metropolitan areas hasn't recovered. And it's going to get worse because more and more companies are letting their employees work from home, which is fine. And then finding and retaining tenants, it's just difficult. You've got to find the right people negotiating these deals, especially now with a market that has a lot of options. It's really a renter's market from the commercial standpoint. So that's commercial property. Great investment though. Vacant land. Wow, vacant land. I've got some experience with this from our family, not me personally, but my dad he used to have these partnerships, and it was like the name of their partnership, Partners in Progress, and they were always out buying land. I never really understood why, but they were trying to be very strategic, and so there were some benefits because they ended up selling big tracts of land to Walmart and other places. Health South Hospital here, which is now Grandview. Health South came and bought a ton of their land. So they were doing this early on. They were looking at areas that were expanding, and they were out ahead of it, buying just land close to the interstate, close to places where businesses would come in and build. And so obviously with land, you have low maintenance costs. I mean, maybe you even sell some timber so you have some income, but largely you're going to just make sure that the land is cleared, or if it's fully wooded, then you don't really have to do anything. It can increase significantly in value. When they sold to Walmart, it was quite a just quite a big win for that group. So there's things like that. Flexibility, you can hold it, develop it, you can lease it for farming, parking, other uses. I mean, there's all kind of things you can do with vacant land. The challenge is it doesn't generate any income. You literally need to be okay parking money somewhere and letting it sit. Now, this takes, in my opinion, takes a long-term view. It doesn't need to be a speculative. You don't need to think, oh, I need to get this money back soon. What kind of return can I make in a year or 2 years? Especially when you're talking about like progress, city progress, and expansion plans. These things take years, sometimes decades. I would be very, very cautious about it. No monthly income. The value depends heavily on development trends, what's going on. So vacant land can be good if you have the cash to park. All right, REITs. REITs, it's just really like almost like buying a stock. So the benefits are you do have liquidity, a lot like a stock. You've got some diversification in that the REIT is investing in real estate. You just need to understand what type of real estate the REIT is investing in. It stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. It's definitely cheaper than owning a rental property. No management responsibility, so you miss out on all of the struggle, the heartache of owning rental property, the problem with residents, all of that. You're passing that through and letting the manager of the REIT and the investments handle that. So with that, you don't have the potential upside that a lot of real estate has, but yet you're guarding from a lot of the downside if you have a good manager of that REIT. So no direct control over the asset, no hands-on real estate experience. If you're trying to get real estate experience so you can do something that is great for you, you want to build a portfolio, a REIT is not going to help you really at all. And then really everything depends on market returns. But this is the case with everything, right? What about short-term rentals? Man alive, you can go both ways with short-term rentals. There are haters of short-term rentals, and then there are people that just swear by it. As a matter of fact, I just started following a guy. I heard him on a podcast called My First Million, and I wish I could, I wish I knew the name. I should have probably been prepared for this, but he bought a tract of land, saw this tract of land, fell in love with it. It was in Texas. And he borrowed the money, put it under contract, didn't have the cash. So he went and borrowed money. He got a loan from his dad and his brother. They took a line of credit out on their business. They became partners, and he had this vision for it. So he went to develop it. It took him over a year to develop it, but he built like 7 or 8 incredible cottages on it. Like wooded, beautiful scenery. And Airbnb actually... Here's Airbnb's logo. Airbnb actually had a glitch in their system that shut down his ability to market it on their website. And they were like, we don't know what's going on. Sorry, there's a glitch. We'll try to get to and try to fix it. He couldn't get any resolution. So he was about to be out of money. And he said, I've got to do something. So what he did was he scraped together the last bit of his money. He paid a travel influencer, a Texas travel influencer, to promote his short-term rentals in this certain area of Texas. He paid her to promote it. He immediately, and then he had a separate booking, I can't remember the name of the website, but it was a separate booking. It wasn't through Airbnb. It was something else. He literally got booked up immediately, started booking. He got booked up for over 12 months and never had a week where something wasn't rented. And he said that changed everything. We didn't rely on Airbnb, and all of a sudden, so 80% of his bookings came from this direct to him, and then 20% came from Airbnb. Long story short, he sold that investment for $7 million. And I think he had a few million in it. So he did really, really well. The whole point was he was he was going after the experience, right? So there's a difference between just having a house. So I have friends that have houses in Class C areas. They're turning these long-term rentals into short-term rentals. That's way different than what this person did. So short-term rental can just be, hey, you need a place to stay, come and live there, or it can be an entire experience that is like mind-blowing. Either way, there's great potential. Either way, there's great risk. So let's talk about the benefits. Obviously, higher income than long-term rentals if you do any of the math. Now, your maintenance, the operating expenses are up. Probably your maintenance is going to be up. You have to furnish the whole thing. You don't do that with long-term rentals. Flexibility to use it. Personally, I have a friend who has something at the beach, short-term rental, but they block it off for a couple of weeks in the summer and they just go there. So you can do that. So what are the challenges? What do you need to look out for? Well, I'm just going to go to the end. First of all, I just think this is a hospitality business. If you screw this up, you get negative reviews. If you get negative reviews, you will not rent your place. You'll be thinking, how can I turn this into a long-term rental? We get calls. Evernest, we get calls about this. But seasonal demand, if you have something at the beach, how many people are going to rent it during the winter months? Who wants to go to the beach during December? Not many people. Also, you have regulations, management efforts. I mean, the management fees are a lot more if you're hiring somebody to manage it for you. Or either you become the housekeeper, you become the concierge, you become the experienced person. You're literally doing everything you can to give somebody a great experience so that they leave you a 5-star review. So great returns, potential for great returns, great risk that you screw this up and doesn't work out for you. So which is best for you? I would say for a majority of people, especially people who are just starting out, for a majority, single family is the way to go. You can build a great, successful business, have somebody manage it. We manage rental property, 23,000 properties all over the United States. Most of them are single family. So we have people that have one house, one owner, one house, and then we manage for people that have portfolios of houses. 10, 20, 30, 100 rental properties. You can be very successful with this. You can also, these two, I believe, would be my bread and butter. Single family, multifamily, those are the ones I have experience with, but I also know people that have experience with the other ones that do really, really well. So that's it. Hope this was helpful for you. Would love to talk to you. If you want to reach out to us, go ahead. You can email us, sales@evernest.co. You can follow a link below this video and then come back, subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with more investor-friendly videos just like this.